It's Roger again today with kind of a little silly discussion about trained geologists, how absolutely deny reality and just blatantly nasty attack me for showing the reality that biology is what we're looking at on the earth. Now, if somebody can say that that's just a natural formation, there's no biology involved there, I can't even imagine the capability that they have to even consume oxygen. You need to stop and look at what is around us closely. I mean, I'm being attacked by some really absolute morons. And so I'm coming in here looking at some information here that it just can't be denied that it's biology. It's so evident in every single way. And the kids are being, it's really a tragedy what's going on. It really honestly is. To dismiss all this as being delusional people that look at these things. Now, the reason I'm looking in this area, as everyone knows, the dragon and the fish are over in this area. They are over here. And here, of course, there's the gigantic fish right there. And everybody that's been following me knows this. Now, there's the fish. There's this fin up here. It's being attacked by this gigantic dragon up here. And it's spitting out this nasty dragon stuff. I don't know what they call it, but it's the stuff that burns people up. And it did. It burnt up that fish's fin. You see what it did to the fish? It destroyed his flesh. The rest of it's nice and vital and pink, and he looks pretty good. Now, the dragon runs all the way from here down his dragon-scaled throat with his fiery eye. They talk about that in the text, which we're going to look at in a second. And this is all the dragon scales of his throat. I mean, how could there's no human being that wants to deal in the realm of reality that can look at that and say, "Oh no, Roger, that's just accidental, just happened." It's not. This is the runoff of dead, decaying flesh. It's a red-blooded creature, and it is freaking gigantic. It goes all the way from there to all the way down to here. So don't tell me it doesn't. This is where it's still rotting off his tail. Same stuff. The dragon scales. Now, so we see the fish and we see the dragon, and it talks about this in the text, and then it talks about the giant bird, which I never knew before. Let's go look at the text. All right. There's encyclopedias on everything. This is Encyclopedia of Mythology, and it's pretty good. There's a lot in here about everything that you want to read about in mythology. And it's pretty well documented and so forth. Now, so I'm looking into the biblical Jewish encyclopedia, because that has some pretty serious stuff about the Leviathan and Behemoth, which I obviously have found and I know about them. So I want to discover what I can read about them. So I'm reading, and then all of a sudden I come across this. Down here it talks about, they use this for the food for the elect and so forth. You got to read the whole thing. But now this goes among the Gnostics. So the Behemoth and Leviathan formed a Gnostic system of the Ophites and others, 2 of the 7 circles of stations which the soul has to pass in order to purge and to attain bliss. Now, it talks about, well, let me just read it. What the hell? It talks about this adventurous, ominous, Harris volume, as if the meat of the wild ox, which is the behemoth, and the fish Leviathan were not deemed sufficient to the great banquet of the righteous in the future, a fowl was added. And I said, ooh, that's interesting. The wild beasts of the field mentioned in after the account of the behemoth in verse 10 and understood by the rabbis to signify a gigantic bird. Thus, the Apocalypse of Simon, and anyway, it goes down and talks about it has 3 animals: the monster, which is the ox behemoth, the fish Leviathan, and gigantic bird Ziz. These were prepared for the great banquet. Now, and then it talks about this and that, but here's where it is. The bird Shamros. This is all brand new to me. I mean, I know about the obviously the dragon and the fish, but this is new. The bird Shamrosh, the chief of the birds, which lives on the summit of Mount Albers. I said, what the hell is that? So I go here, and I put in Mount Albers, click over here. How come it didn't go there? Well, anyway, I know where it is. It's over in this area, right down in here. So then I come down here, and I start looking around for bird feathers and stuff. And I could find them all over the place. And I mean, I have feathers here that I put in my microscope. I see the identical patterns. Now, and you can see this everywhere. It's everywhere. So there's another gigantic bird. It's just undeniable, the things that we are missing. And it's because we've denied God and His creation. And this was created by God. I don't see any other way of getting around this. There is got to be one gigantic creator God. In my world, that's what's going on. Now, and then He has guys that He sent down here, which apparently were dragons, that were watchers. They were supposed to be watchers. And they could shapeshift, it appears. And the dragons were the ones, boy, I tell you, it's confusing, but there's just too many dragons. They're in the United States, too. The feathered dragon, that's all real. It's 100% real. There's no question about it. Here it is right there. There's the dragon's head. And there's all his feathers. It runs all the way up the East Coast. And here's the end of where his feathers are. This was the feathered serpent. I've looked at the... And I have... Greg Morrison's gone down there. He's collected them. I have them right here in my shop. The whole thing. This is all feathers. So the whole thing is a feathered serpent. Runs the whole length. It's the mountains. And Greg went down there and he collected up some actual feathers. Sent them to me. No, I mean, this is what it is. Look at how interesting this is. Look at what happens around his nose. Look at that. That's like the edge of the skin. See that? I'm sort of trying to figure out why it surrounds his head. Goes right up here. All of that, all the way up to Little Rock. And then, if you look at the feathered serpent, he had a big fluff of feathers coming off the top of his head. And there they are. Here's the feathers. See? They come right down to Little Rock, where his head was, right at the tip of his head. Those are feathers. I know. I'm telling you, you should go look for yourself. That's all I could say. You have to go and start looking for yourself. But you could follow this one up just like I followed the one up in Morocco. And there's another one down below here. They're all over. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. That could very well likely be the head of a gigantic snake right there. There's his teeth. There's his eyes. Runs back up here, straight up. And I found all the scales and everything running up through Bolivia. Look, see? Same stuff. They know about it. I can't tell you how this happened. I can't tell you how these gigantic creatures managed to live and how big they were and still managed to live. I don't know. I can't explain that. It would be interesting for somebody to explain it. I see what I see. And I don't deny what I see because it's too hard to believe. I believe what is real, and I don't believe what is unreal. And what we are being taught today is totally unreal. Tyson is up here in the West. I mean, everybody's all around the world. I have people everywhere around the world now that I've been working with. And Tyson is one of the best. And he's up here in the Oregon, and the stuff he's showing is absolutely over the top. I'll show you one. He started a new channel. It's going to be called Mudmen. And I want you to go up there and sign up and ring the bell and all that. I'm going to go right there now, and we're going to take a quick look. All right, this is Tyson's channel. It's called Mudmen. Hold on a second. It's brand new. He just opened it up. Well, let's go to YouTube. All right. Mudmen Research. Now, he is good. Tyson is good. I'm telling you, he's the guy to pay attention to. He's got a site that is just beyond the imagination of anyone. Now, and he's as dedicated to doing this. He has the tools, he has the knowledge, he's a smart guy, and he's a tough guy, and he goes out and he does the work, and he doesn't dismiss anything. All right? He's the guy you want to look at. Now, I'm just going to play it from here forward. He starts off showing some stuff that, here's going to show you something. You see that? That's a piece of blood. Now, he sent me a bunch of stuff. He sent me actual vitamins and minerals. I mean, I'm serious. That is floating through the blood of these creatures. And this will pick up and deliver products to the tissues. That's what these things do.
That is, holy cow, that's a purple rock.
That's what it does. It picks up and delivers from that transition metals. Now this is, I mean, if you can possibly deny that this is a membrane, I don't know what to say to you. Now Tyson has all the same, he's got the same books, he's got everything. We're working together in tandem. He's got the same microscopes, he's got the same books, he understands the same things that I am working with here, and we go over this daily. So this is a bilipid membrane. He knows what he's talking about. You guys just got to listen to him. Now look at that. That's a hole through there. This is where the stuff goes into your body, through our membranes. And when I'm talking about the stuff going through our membranes, it's a freaking molecule. It's a little tiny thing you can't even see. You need a gigantic microscope to see. And look at the size of them. They just put wires in here. This is a membrane. This is just off the wall. It drives me nuts too. I've been doing this for years, and absolutely amazing. Look at that. Look at that. It's just staggering. Now, I gotta show you something. I forget who sent me this. Somebody, no, I think maybe I got this on my own property. This is nothing but membranes too. Now you see how many layers of membranes are in there? It's absolutely amazing. Now I put a little water on because they absorb it up. That's the beauty of these things. You know, and one time I was putting castor oil and I sealed them, and they would not accept the water again, so don't do that. Best not to seal them, let me put it that way. Let me get a little light on it. You see how many layers of tissue is there? I don't know if you can see it or not. And down here you see the red, that's where your blood is. It's just another layer of blood. And that's the number of layers of tissue there is. And you have to get to understand the colors, the red and the black and the white, and where it is and what it signifies on these things. You can't do it overnight. Now, Tyson's doing a fabulous job. I think we've been working maybe a year and a half, maybe two now. I don't know. Here goes. It's a membrane. I mean, it's just... Now, that's a bilipid, so there's one layer down here or one layer up here, and in between there's this watery, aqueous fluid that's...
Okay,
look.
so I've been doing a lot of measuring around here right now, and Some of these cells, the thicknesses of them.
Look at these.
Hey, what is that? 11 inches. I already got some of that stuff down, so I don't need to do that.
That's just...
Okay, good enough. All right, I'm back here. I'm going to take a sample off this today. I just had an old couple stop here, and they were talking about geology, and he's got a friend up in Washington State that's a geologist. He's got to tell him about Mudfossil University, and they didn't even see this. They walked right by it, and I brought him over here and showed him this, and it just blew his mind. He's like, holy cow. And I said, yeah, dude, the world's going to have to wake up. So I'm going to grab a sample out of one of these, smaller one, I hope, and take it home with me. I don't know which one.
See, there's more. That's literally a vitamin or a mineral that's in your body. This stuff here collects other molecules on it because it has a certain, what they call transition, the blue ones here, these blue ones here, these are in the transition metals. And what they do is some of them take the positives, some of them take the negatives, and they attach to them. They move around through your body, and somebody else says, oh, I'd rather have that than that guy, and flip it goes. And these are these little colored rocks. So the ones he sent me, some of them were green with red in it. Absolutely phenomenal, the stuff he has. And he's looking into it. Nobody else is. Look at this. To just dismiss this and walk away from it, I can't, you know, and he's doing this daily, really. He's really doing a good job. Look at the size of this stuff. And some of this stuff, he's doing some dangerous work out here. Not this, you know, he just might break his fingers. But, you know, climbing up on some of this stuff, he's way up there. See, as he said, he's got a... Tyson made a couple of T-shirts. Mudfossil University T-shirts. He sent me one. He's a good guy. This is interesting. I'm telling you. To me, it's just so interesting. I can't tell you.
Well, looks like I'm going to have the one is all. That's good enough, though.
You look at what's inside. This is biology. The red and the black. That is the tissue colors relating to oxygenated and not oxygenated tissues. It's as simple as that. So he's the guy that's got some really good stuff. I mean, his stuff is just beyond. There's nobody even close. So it's just gigantic. You know, this is funny. I have the exact same thing here. It's exactly the same. And I know what it is. It's a curve in a little piece of bone. For him, it's the tiniest little piece of bone. And for me, it was a little, you know, for him, this is gigantic. For me, it was maybe this big, and I could just barely see these. I had to use a microscope. But it's exactly identical. This is amazing. What a world. Now, this is kind of cute. This is from NASA, spots a dragon on Mars. Let me tell you something. I have more information about the surface of Mars than NASA does. It's completely biological, 100%. Okay, I want you to take a look at this. This is skin, which is gathered together here and stretched apart here. It's eroded off over here, and all that's left is the balls. The balls attach to these straps. The straps can stretch, and then they will return to their squiggly form. You see how they're all squiggly looking? Well, that's so they can stretch and return. And they can also squish and return. That's what makes skin have its ability to stretch and pull back and scrunch together and come back. That's what we all know as young, good, flexible fabric of skin. All right? Well, guess what? What do you see there? Now, this I'm going to try to make, this is going to be kind of a little tricky to see the balls, but the balls and straps are here. I'm going to show you, have to vary the light. You see the dark spots? The dark spots are the balls, basically. Those are the anchors. the white spots, the white straps are the straps that go along with the interstitium. You see it? This is what's called interstitium. Now guess what this is? This is a belt. This is my belt. It's a leather belt. And here's where the loops go through. You see, see all those little interstitium balls over here? This is the fabric of skin. This is the fabric of your lungs. Your lung is made out of that exact same stuff. And it has a bunch of holes in there where they have oxygen comes in and the blood filters through all this. And what's happening in the COVID, it's attacking these fibers, and so that they don't, you know, in other words, down here, you see how they, like I said, they can wrinkle together and come back, and they can stretch apart and come back. That's what your lung is like, so that you can squish this like a sponge, they say. You could take this and just go, and it's supposed to come back. This is obviously a petrified lung. And there's the entrance, all the air goes through, and that's where the alveoli are in there. Air comes down through your trachea, you know, through your throat down in, and it goes into the lungs, and it filters through there, and wherever blood passes by these holes, it picks up the oxygen. Well, and it's supposed to be able to open and close and just respond, because these are like springy things. Well, they're just turning into goo because some molecules in there attacking them. And so this is on Mars. And this is what, you see this? This is on the surface of Mars. It's being eroded away and leaving the straps, the stretched ones, and the ones that are crunched together, they're staying together too. This is what your skin is like. You know, it's eroded away. Obviously, the top layer of your skin, the fabric is missing, but this is what they call the interstitium. It's just below the skin, and it makes it work, and it covers every. Well, here. Hold on. Take it easy. Go. Here's a DNA certified lung. That's a DNA certified human lung. Ancient protocols, the whole 9 yards. That is the same interstitious stuff that stretches. It's called pleur. Right, and that's the flat spot on the back because it was in the Great Flood, along with all the other things, exactly what was written in the ancient text. Yeah, that's another exactly identical fabric. Even it's a goose, duck, whatever it is. Same thing. Died in the flood like that. Flat as a pancake on the bottom. Now, you can go around and find these things all day long. They're everywhere, everywhere. I mean, I got bones coming out of my earlobes. And they laugh at Yale because they turn away from truth. I want to have an engagement with them. I've sent stuff to their dean. I want to talk. I want to discuss this. They've been hiding. As far as I'm concerned, they're hiding. If they won't discuss what they claim to know as knowledge, well, for me, that's somebody that is not knowledgeable. That's somebody that's just spouting something they can't support. And that is exactly what's happening at Yale and every other academic institution at this exact moment. Even the community colleges won't respond. Everybody's afraid. They're all scared to death. I can't imagine being that way. That's not in my realm. I'm not scared that easy. Can't imagine. I just can't imagine it. Not being able to speak up. You know, I've been in that situation several times, and I spoke, and I came out okay every time. So all you got to do is speak up and say, "Ooh, we never realized this. Let's take a look. You'll be okay." But no, you try to hide and you try to play that game, you're going to go under, and you are going under now. You're looking disgraceful. You know, I don't know what to say. You know, I've been up against these walls. You got to push back. They push you against the wall, and you're stuck against the wall. Well, it's good for you. Ain't gonna happen to me. Okay, my friends. Have you ever heard of the Mars crab? That is it right there. See, it's expanded from down here. It's this round thing with all these little arms coming out of it, and then another tube above it, and it's inside this with all this red dust coming out of it, and these little laminated layers. And I say this is a blood vessel, which is the artery, and all of these little blood vessels are going in to service this, which is the tissue, and that is the vein which returns the blood back up to the heart and lungs. Now, I happen to have crabs too. I mean, well, you know what I'm saying. And I think this is a crab right here. And I have all over these things because they're nothing more than blood vessels. And this is nothing more than a tissue that is from a giant creature. And that's the body part that came out of it. Now this here, oh, it's a little heavy. That's the muscle fibers. Of course, it's broken off, and then up in here is where the blood services the muscles, which is identical to Mars. And I have many other pictures from Mars, from the Mars rover, that show biology like the blueberries, exactly like they are here on Earth. Now, that's skin tissue, and that is the interstitium balls. You know, they're blue on Mars because of some interaction with the atmosphere is a little different than here, although they are about the same color. They're magnetite. This obviously is like on Earth. They call these the Moki marbles. And hold on, I'll show you. No, and here they are here. This is the skin underneath, exactly identical to Mars, and these are the interstitium balls. Now, these normally would have all those little straps running between them, and there would be a layer of skin over the top of them, and in between all of these would be, well, let me just show you the anatomical. But this is eroded interstitium aqueous layer, and I'll show it to you right now. All right, this is exactly what your skin is. There's the layer. Then underneath you have these bags of fluid filled. They're aqueous, water filled, whatever. There's some kind of a solution in these. It's obviously a salty water solution. Now, in addition to that, these little brown things are springs. And the balls are the anchors. So these are the straps. But they're springy. They're not just floating around there falling apart. You can crush this and they will come right back to where they're supposed to be. They have a certain architecture to them. And they will always want to return to that architecture. So what that means is that they're all you can pull them this way and they'll come back. You can push them in together and they'll come back. That's the key. And that's what we're losing with this COVID-19. It's attacking the ability for these things to be springy. There's a chemistry going on there that we should investigate why the interstitium layer is being destroyed. And that's what's being destroyed. They said they cut open the lungs, which this is a lung right here. And that has all of that stuff going on in here. And that's why this is just a sponge. You can crush it and it'll come back. Crush it and come back. Something is causing it. You crush it, it won't come back. So there's something in the springiness of that interstitium layer. Now, it's obvious that mud fossils is not just a pretty face. It's got a lot more going on. And this is over in Fontainebleau in France, I believe. Now, I'm trying to get my buddy Renz. Bonjour, Renz. I think he's over there, and maybe he can do some scouting over there. Now, they got a ton of this stuff, and they're all scaled, oddball-looking creatures. I don't see these everywhere else. So I'm wondering whether they were doing some specific experiments over there, you know, with COVID-18, something like that. Because these are kind of strange-looking creatures. And I mean, there's a lot of them over there. Very strange. Now, this is Fontainebleau. Yeah, and they're all scaled-looking creatures. I don't know what's going on over there. I think that was some kind of a research area. Because they said the Sumerians were doing this. They engineered humans to be the workforce. We need to really start looking at things, you know, investigate these old texts. They are starting to make a hell of a lot of sense to me, because everything that we're being taught today it's just you have to be totally lost to believe it. You just have to be just somebody that will believe anything you're told. because I have the evidence to prove that what they're telling you is wrong. And it's harder to convince somebody that they were wrong than it's easier to fool them into believing something that's wrong. I have evidence, so I'm not, and I have DNA and CAT scans. I have everything, so I'm not wrong.